you needed some more beer.
I'll settle for music.
And do the jella, jalla, jella. It's really sweller to do the jellyfish. Hey, monkey, don't be a donkey. It's nothing like the monkey. It isn't funky or anything that's junk.
What's up, guys? Mr. Dan here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another double feature review. This week, this will be one of 4 reviews of the films in this He Came from the Swamp collection from Arrow Films, the films of William Grefe. There are 7 feature films and 1 documentary. So I'll be pairing those up for 4 videos. And I think I've already reviewed Impulse, but eventually I'll do some more William Grefe films that are not in this set. But yeah, as soon as I watch both films that are included in each case and on each disc, I'll review both of them together. So far, I've watched several, including both of these, The Death Curse of Tartu and Sting of Death. I wasn't really too eager to get to Sting of Death, only because I have so far I've much preferred the non-creature-oriented films of William Grefe, having really only seen Death Curse of Tartu that involves creatures, animals. But then in the comments of my unboxing video for this, which was part of my Physical Media Friday video series, Joel from the Newly Deads said that something along the lines that Sting of Death was a favorite of his. You have to see it to believe it. So I watched it last night, and oh, brother, it is, oh my gosh. I really much preferred it to Death Curse of Tartu. I may not have really been in the mood when I put in Death Curse of Tartu, which seemed to move a little slower. And essentially, oh, that movie, it's so entertaining and goofy in parts. Anyway, being an Arrow release, you got this cool poster here, nice booklet. There's William Grefe there with a boa constrictor. There's the Jellyfish Man. It's like a Portuguese man of war. And I was wondering if it was going to be like a full transformation, whether it was back and forth, but he sort of becomes like a symbiotic creature with the jellyfish. You can see his head inside. This thing sort of balloons up around him and the tentacles grow. And, there's some kind of, bullshit process where he puts his hands in a tank with electricity and, Portuguese man of war venom, and he turns into this thing. And if he touches you, he burns you, and much like a Portuguese man of war would actually sting you. But he walks, and he's got the clothes are all kind of grimy, and he's got, flippers for diving. So it's something to see for sure. And apparently, yeah, and there's a pool scene there's several pool scenes in The Sting of Death. He jumps right in the pool, and there's these kids dancing there. The special musical guest, I forget how they phrased it. It's pretty hilarious though. Is Neil Sedaka, and every what does it say here? Songs of Neil Sedaka heighten shocking impact of underwater thriller. Yeah, that's what a Neil Sedaka song would do to your underwater thriller. It would really heighten the suspense. This is from like a newspaper article. That's the same guy that played like the zombie guy in The Death Curse of Tartu, played the walking, swimming jellyfish. And there's the double feature poster. There's this, in both of these movies are sort of tangentially part of that beach, that Monsters a Go-Go subgenre, where you have monsters or haunted houses and dancing teenagers. They wanted to put everything that teenagers liked in a movie. These are kind of like tangentially related to that. There is a short documentary as part of the special features about the Monster a Go-Go movies. But so these are a little different, but a little similar. So yeah, there's a scene where they're dancing to this jellyfish song. It's like, you do the jelly, and they're doing this, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's beyond cringy. Lots of close-ups of derrieres in, bikini bottoms. Oh, brother. And the jellyfish is right in the pool, and it's like they don't see it. The jellyfish man. It's like... And there's some pretty funny stories. Apparently the producer was like, oh, I know a place we can film. We need to go out, out into the ocean and the director was like, I don't know if that's going to work. It's pretty rough today. And, since they had all these young actresses in bikinis, he wanted to impress them. And he jumped in. And as soon as he came up for air, he started screaming for help because he was getting washed away. So they had to rescue him. And then they retreated back to like something called like Rainbow Cove, where the water was clear. So the underwater shots are pretty good, And they even do a little thing where they mirror the famous scene from Creature in the Black Lagoon where he's swimming under a desirable, female victim in this case. But he's like right there. So that was in the pool. But the underwater shots in this little cove that they filmed were actually pretty good, I have to say. But yeah, he apparently made this film. A distributor was like, I'll pair it up with another horror film. That's what you did back then, because these are like an hour and a half or a little bit less. And he couldn't find one, so he said, well, why don't you just go make another movie? And he wrote Death Curse of Tartu in like 2 days, and then he had a couple weeks to go film it. And he knew a guy named Frank Weed who owned all these animals in the Everglades. So it was almost like, what if I get my friend who owns all these animals to be in my movie and bring all his animals in? So I know I'm all over the place, but I'm not really going to go into details about the plot because that's not the kind of movies these are. I just want to give you like a flavor for them. So in Death Curse of Tartu, he basically took the, you disturbed the Egyptian temple motif, and now the mummy walks, and he put it in Florida before Tartu comes out in human form. You see little glimpses of him, and it looks cool. And actually, even in the cave, there's a cave in both movies, which is, I like caves. Cave scenes are always cool. In Sting of Death, he's got like a shark jaws and like a skull. It doesn't look exactly like the poster, the Death Curse of Tartu mummy guy, but it's a skull on a stick, and it's almost. And then he would eventually make a shark movie, Mako Jaws of Death. So I thought that was kind of funny. Maybe he was like sort of envisioning the future there. But this archaeologist goes into this cave. He's got a native guide who's like, I'm not going any further. And he's like, you and your superstitions. You know how that always turns out. And he goes in there and he awakens Tartu, but Tartu takes the form of several animals first. A shark, which I don't remember at all. And I just saw this movie. I don't remember that at all. A shark, an alligator, and a boa constrictor, which you saw. Now, apparently the boa constrictor was moving so slow that William Grefe got irritated and said to Frank Weed, is this thing going to move any faster? So Frank Weed actually got on all fours and actually bit the snake in the rear section, and then it took off. Things were different back then. And then for the alligator scene, he showed up with this massive alligator, and William Grefe was like, come on, this thing's too big. We're not going to control it. There was a scene, they dug a hole in the ground where one of the actresses was on the ground. Her real arm was in the hole. She had a fake arm, which the alligator was going to chew up. And it actually turned out pretty well in the movie, to be honest with you. But she was a little scared, and the alligator had its jaws wired shut, and apparently William Grefe got down on the ground next to it to show her how it was going to be done, and the thing like rolled on him, and it was like 10 feet long. So she took off, and it took like an hour to calm her down. That's the kind of thing they went through in these movies. There's a scene where someone's climbing a tree, and they're hanging, and the snake is under them, and it's a pretty, I like that shot. It was a good camera angle. It was a really good shot. I mean, they were moving. They had days to film these with limited crew and limited money. So they moved along. The plot for Death Curse of Tartu at times doesn't seem like it's moving. There's some walking in the Everglades, and even though they were biting the snakes, some of the animals did seem like it was a little drawn out. And then finally Tartu himself comes alive, and it's a pretty cool makeup job, I think. And there's an ending that you've probably seen in swampy movies before, if you can figure that one out. But anyway, I'll probably enjoy it more when I rewatch it. I'll probably watch it with the commentary next time now, just for something to kind of focus on, because I almost find the backstory more fascinating than the film. In that case, in the case of Sting of Death, my gosh, what an entertaining movie. It was just so much fun. I cannot believe they never did it on Mystery Science Theater. They would eat it up. It's so fun. There's these college students coming to this island to, I don't know what. I don't know why. There's these girls in bikinis coming to this island to rest or something, or do a photo shoot, but there's a a scientist there with his daughter. He's got this massive lump on his head, and what happened, Dad? Oh, something fell on me in the laboratory. I thought that was going to relate to the plot somehow, but I don't know, it didn't. But so they're chilling there, and he's got like a hunky assistant who's making eyes at the daughter, and then the girls arrive, and they're kind of hanging out, and this guy named Egon, who's got a deformed face and like one good eye, kind of just sidles up behind him and scares them, and that's a whole subtext. They're like, don't make fun of him, and the daughter has a soft spot for him. And then these students come over on a boat, and they're drinking and falling off the boat as it arrives, and then they start dancing poolside to Neil Sedaka or whatever that song was. You have to hear it to believe it. And they kind of exclude the Egon guy is watching, and then when they see him watching, they go over and make a big scene and tease him, and he gets really upset. Oh, by the way, meanwhile, the sheriff earlier had wanted the scientist guy to look at a dead body and see if he can figure out what happened, and looks like it was all like burned up and everything, poisoned or whatever. And this guy Egon, the sidekick assistant, he's constantly pushing his theories about like we can breed and train Portuguese man of war, and the doctor's like, Egon, silly. Anyway, so Egon he's got a whole setup in a cave, and he's been doing experiments, and if you cross him, the jellyfish monster will show up, and the Portuguese man of war man, I don't know, that monster will show up and take care of you, and he does wipe out a number of people in this film. The pool scene is pretty hysterical. Then they try to escape. And since he's also like part human, he can like do things like get an axe and cut your fuel lines too. So I mean, they kind of get trapped on the island. The radio's busted, and it's just a crazy kind of a conclusion. Pretty good number of dead bodies. The effects when he like grabs your face and burns you were pretty good. Very entertaining. Just tons of fun. I can't wait to check out the rest of these. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Have you seen either one of these? And is this something that sounds like you'd be interested in seeing? Let me know. And I'll catch you next time.
Get your